How Sammy Met Andee. Verse 1, Scene 2. Samuel coughed wetly into his hand, already knowing it was blood he felt running down his wrist. Ah, fucking fuck, he panted, glancing over his shoulder as he struggled to keep his grip on the pistol that grew heavier with each passing second. He hadn't expected the soldier he'd knocked out to wake up so fast, or to have such good aim after he'd taken all that care to place a bullet just below the Blue's knee. He could already hear Nelson's berating. He should have taken the shot. One dead soldier was a lot less of a hit to their numbers than a dead Samuel. He kind of regretted the decision himself. But at least no one was following him anymore. Hopefully. He quickly dropped his hand against the wound in his side, wincing at the pain. The bullet had gone through at least, but coughing up blood wasn't a great sign. In fact, nothing about the last 30 minutes had been a great sign. His paws began to drag as he closed his eyes and tried to shake off the growing stupor radiating out from his torso. He wasn't ready to call the whole job off, but goddamn, all indicators were pointing to fuck. When he opened his eyes again and dropped his shoulder against a tree for support, he blinked a few times, and then realized he was staring up at what he could only call a sign. Hell, he might even call it a great sign. A tired grin parted his muzzle as he wiped at the trickle of blood running along his jaw. A meter or so above eye level, there it was. A simple but effective symbol that had been carved roughly into the tree. Not quite like what his own tribe used, but still obvious enough for him to notice, just like Nelson had inferred. Awesome. At least I'll die near the damn job, he chuckled, before immediately wincing again and coughing more blood into his fist. Shit. He continued to lean against the tree, using it as a guidepost for his eyes as he searched the dense jungle before him. And then he spotted it. A formation of rocks through the damp tree trunks. It looked like there was a narrow gap between two of the large boulders. The Chupa nodded to himself and then forced himself off the tree so he could begin stumbling toward it. His toe claws furrowed the moist dirt beneath as his tail began to make its own shallow rut behind him, every part of his body seeming to droop as he mustered himself onward. His senses were dulled, his head foggy, and it was then he realized the mental haze had been hiding the eyes he suddenly felt watching him. A few paces from the opening in the rocks, he glanced up sluggishly while making an extremely concerted effort to lift his pistol. He heard, no, was that the flap of wings? And an instant later something slammed into his back and sent him sprawling onto his chest with a pained grunt, his handgun skittering away from his fingers through the dead leaves. Koi fuyo, here to yo ham. He tasted detritus in his muzzle, but before he could even lift his head, a sharp pressure prodded lightly into the back of his skull. He froze instantly and tried to change gears. He wasn't sure what he heard the stranger say. It didn't sound like common. But then again, he'd lost a lot of blood. Hold up, ain't army, he managed as he covered his head defensively with both hands. Nuak! Samuel winced as he felt a second cool metal object nudge his wrist before lifting it a bit. He thought he saw a flash of a furry snout and a black nose past his arm as his vision started to swim. Zib ukaimub. The first voice sighed, and the weight on Samuel's back was lifted as whatever held him down hopped off. Tumak, vado. Vivat Andee. Muito hobidenk havnocht. Samuel mumbled an incoherent sound of gratitude, since he assumed by the tones of the voices he wasn't going to be killed. Not yet, anyway. He felt claws lifting his arms, and while his body was hefted up by two of the strange creatures, he finally lost the fight against the darkness as his head dropped limply against his chest. That's when you learn the truth.